All right. Welcome, Master Duelists, to the Master Duel Dojo. There are some who call me Tim. The path to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube starts here. Hit subscribe and step into the dojo and become an OG dojo warrior. On the docket today, we have a tier list for when Maliss comes out tomorrow, dawn of the final day. And then we have to grind up ladder. Must hit master. Hopefully master 1, and then maybe we can play rating duels with Maliss. That'd be nice. So, I have a lovely treat, everyone's favorite, the tier list. So what is the best deck? Is it Maliss? How good is Maliss? These are the questions on everyone's mind. So, I have made a beautiful tier list. My sub-goals are in the way. Hold on. So, like, this looks fine, but then my goals and my face need to go somewhere else. My face can go down there. Hold on. Let me duplicate. Okay. Okay. Wait a second. That's not right. There we go. Boop. Not that one. Where the hell are they? Okay. We made it. All right. We have a tier list here. We have a whole bunch of different decks and stuff that we need to rank. And I am morally oppositional to tier lists. I think they are not useful. I think they are inflammatory. I think they are bait. But let's do it anyways, because they're fun. They are fun. Everyone loves a tier list. Everyone loves a good tier list. People love to hate bad tier lists. So we've got a whole bunch of decks that showed up on Yu-Gi-Oh meta, not Yu-Gi meta, Master Duel meta, and Untapped. So that's where these decks come from, with like a couple exceptions, a couple of their new things. And instead of rating them based on their like the tier level, which I hate and is not useful because it is entirely like predictions on representation in tournaments. So you could collude and everyone could play a garbage deck. Everybody could play, I don't know, I now can't think. Everyone could play Appliancer. And if everybody agrees to play Appliancer and it gets enough representation, it's tier 1 or tier 0. It is, tiers don't correlate to power level, and I hate when people correlate them to power level. I will like write a better rant, a copy pasta style rant to put here. So we have new cards and old cards and forgotten cards that we need to rank on our tier list. So first, just on everyone's mind, is Maliss. So also my tier rankings, I forgot to mention. I have them on where you expect a player. If somebody tells you, oh, I play this, where you expect them to be. What types of games are they playing and how hard are they? So we're going to start with the new stuff. Maliss is obviously going to be very good. We don't have full information. We're missing the information of if we have March Hare and Maliss in the mirror. Maliss in the mirror. We don't know if we're getting these. Many people assume yes, but they split up Fiendsmith, they've split up Rescue Ace, Centurion, Memento, so many things. So many things didn't get all of their cards at once. Other things have gotten their cards at once, but we've got to see. We'll find out tomorrow morning. And hopefully, I will be live in the morning, twitch.tv/MD_dojo. Hi, Laura. Hi, bye. So, I'm going to start by putting Maliss up here in the rating duels tier because I think Maliss will come out the gate immediately extremely strong. Maliss is one of the strongest decks. It has a lot of layered interaction, and a lot of people say layered interaction, but then they don't. There's a lot of people who use a term because they know what it means and they know how to use it. There's a lot of people who use a term because they hear other people use it and they think they know how to use it. Layered means not all the same stuff. So you can deal with stuff. So if you cut off one axis from your opponent and they still have plays to make after that, that's how I define layered. So you have your on-field monster effects, you have your on-field spells and traps, you have the in the graveyard stuff, you have the banish stuff, you have the stuff in your hand. So a deck like Blue Eyes puts up layered interaction by having Spirit Dragon. Spirit Dragon is a negate, a graveyard negate, and then it turns into Ulti Spirit, which is an on-field negate. So you have to out it, and then it comes back. And if you out the Ulti Spirit Dragon, it floats back into regular Spirit Dragon. They have a lot of spell traps, so they have Majesty, Drill Beam at the least, Imperm called by, and some other stuff that lives in the back row. And then they have Neo Ultimate in the graveyard, plus any hand traps. They can normally search at least one effect veiler during their normal combo. So Blue Eyes is very, very layered in that if you use a card that just said, discard your opponent's whole hand, they still have interaction. If you have Dark Hole, they still have interaction. If you have Heavy Storm, they still have interaction. If you Abyss Dweller them, there's still interaction. So that is how I'm defining layered, is that if you get rid of one axis of thing, they still have a lot of things to do. So the Snake Eyes board was also layered because IP sits in the back row. That will later turn into SP. And then SP can also remove itself from the field. Princess sits in the graveyard. Apollo sits on the field as multiple negates that can't be destroyed because she's usually made with IP. And you have Linkuriboh to protect Apollo from battle. So like these are all different forms that kind of all protect each other. So Maliss, a white binder, comes out of the graveyard or out of banished. Either one, depends on where she is. She banishes a bunch of stuff from the graveyard. You have the trap cards that banish things. She draws a card. Cryptor banishes a card in the field without targeting. And so does Tea Party. So that is their interaction, and it is hard to just use one thing to clear all of their interaction. So Maliss is definitely going to be one of the best decks. Where it falls, we'll see. Maliss is also best of one, or Master Duel is best of one. People are saying, I hear a lot of false narratives both ways, that it will not matter at all, and Maliss will just be the undisputed best deck. I hear people saying that it is going to not be as strong because there's so many different things, but that doesn't really make sense. People say people are going to have to main deck Artifact Lancia. Like, there's a whole host of narratives, and we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm not into creating false narratives. And people say we can predict with accuracy, and that is somewhat true, but there's too many voices shouting into the void. I was hanging out in the Master Duel Meta Discord, looking in the Maliss channel, like looking at the combos and stuff, and I normally don't hang out in places like that, like Reddit and other people's Discord, and just the amount of like shouting and talking about irrelevant stuff and wrong information drives me up a wall. Gives me the most amount of dis-ease. Okay. Maliss, one of the best decks. Where it is, we'll see. Because it also does have weaknesses in that they can have fragile starts, depending on what's going on, and their deck, similar to other things, is so full of hand traps that they might not get going at all. So like Fiendsmith, if you can't find any action, if your hand is all interaction, you won't be moving at all. And that can also happen, that also does happen with Ryziel. I played a couple of practice games with Ryziel, and the deck is just like all hand traps. So if you don't draw any of your Ryziel cards, you are making no plays. But then as soon as you draw one, you explode into a huge board. Okay, Battle Wasps. I'm sorry, Sundry. Battle Wasps are not good. and I'm not sure where to put them, but I don't expect Battle Loss to be doing very well. I need to remind you that any deck can make it to Master 1. I've played Crusadia to Master 1. You just got to put the time in, and especially if your deck does have something targeted towards the meta. So if you play a deck that can play under Lancia, you play 3 Lancias, you beat stuff like Crystron and Maliss most of the time if you have Lancia. So hope that that's what's going on if you don't want to play the best deck. Also, the tier list is where will you find, like, where will this duelist, well, where do most of these duelists cap out because they don't want to play something better? And Battle Wasp looks like a really, really low, I don't know, maybe gold. Like, it can do a lot of things, but it doesn't seem very resilient to real decks. Okay, Tenyi stuff. I'm just going to drag stuff like to the middle because that's where I'm comfortable. Tenyi, this represents all of the Sword Soul variants and all of the new Tenyi stuff. And they're cards for sure, but I don't think the majority of players are going to get escape from Platinum. The majority of players are not going to escape from Platinum to begin with. And that's okay. But if you're playing Tenyi and you're capping out at Platinum, you either need to make a different, you need to make a change. Either in your deck or how your game plan is. And I don't think Tenyi is going to do any of the Tenyi variants, Sword Soul, whatever, going to do better than Platinum. Yes, it's very sad that Sword Soul has been crept so heavily. Sword Soul and Branded used to, like, be on equal footing, but that is just no longer the case. Yes, Tenyi is copium. Tenyi, you're not going to have a good time. Okay. DDD stuff. I have not read the cards. I don't plan on reading the cards. I don't know where to put these. I've heard nothing about it except that they are cards. I'm going to put them right next to Battle Loss because I think a lot of their cards read very powerfully, but if they don't, like, this is one of those, I should have a tier for the, like, if you go first decks, because DDD is one of those, like, if you go first decks, you can do whatever you want. Like, if you go first without interruptions, you can do whatever you want. But at that point, you must ask yourself, if you are going first with no interruptions, why not play a better deck that can play through interruptions? I'm just gonna let you sit with that. All right, Gladiator Beasts. Gladiator Beasts also have new cards. Gladiator Beasts, so they can do some powerful things, but they're very limited on getting interacted. So their extenders don't feel, so I've seen the deck play a few times and I played against it. I've not played the deck. So take this with a grain of salt. But Glad Beasts, I don't think can do better of, like, bottom of Platinum. Like, they're probably the worst Platinum deck. DDD, I think, is better than Battle Loss. Okay, Crystron. Crystron is great, but I don't think... Okay, so there's two ways around it. There is either Lancia destroys the format, and for a while Crystron players stop playing Crystron because you cannot play under Lancia. It's very difficult to play under banish effects like Macro. You can, and it's extremely difficult to play under Lancia because you want to Tristaros banish, pop your thing, banish all your guys from graveyard to activate their effects. You can play. You can do things still like make Infinity and Trist, but it will not be consistent because that is where all of your guys go to the graveyard, and then they trigger from graveyard by banishing. Not the 5s. The 5s don't banish, but all the other ones do. So without being able to banish your cards, I don't think Crystron is amazing. And Crystron and TCG, the problems with Crystron is time. So playing the Millennium stuff, siding with Lancia and Droll, is that your opponents don't have to bring in Lancia and Droll. They don't have to have it in their deck, so they aren't sacrificing anything against other opponents that it's not weak to. But then they have it for you, just as collateral damage. So that's why Crystron is not awesome in TCG. Also, the Millennium stuff. The Millennium stuff is a lot weaker. I think it's still very, very good. And definitely one of the better decks. Cluster is still an amazing card. Okay, Mimighoul. If you are a Mimighoul Joker, where are you? I've seen a whole bunch of variants. I've seen a lot of Kashtira. I've seen a lot of Floodgates. I've seen a lot of Fiendsmith in there. And I'm going to lump them all together because it doesn't really matter. Because you ideally... Because if you're playing Mimighoul and you're playing the Kashtira Fiendsmith cards, and that's what you're excited about and how you're winning games, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't draw any Mimighoul cards. I only drew Kashtira Fiendsmith. Why are you putting the Mimighoul cards in your deck? Don't put them in your deck if you don't want to draw them. So putting the Mimighoul cards in your deck says, I want to win with Mimighoul. And I don't think that's a winning strategy most of the time. They are, unfortunately, very slow. They are not that powerful. And they are a weak Floodgate. They're better than Ghostrick, but they're not powerful. They're not powerful cards, and they're easily played around. That said, I think that the amount of Floodgate stuff is going to put them at the top of Platinum. Most of these players with the Kashtiras and Fiendsmiths and the other Floodgates holding them up, they're near the top of Platinum. These are the players that, like, cannot get out. I find Platinum is the biggest skill cap where players, like, cannot advance further. They hit the top of Platinum, and then they don't want to make the mental shift that they are responsible for their losses. And those are the players Platinum and below. And that is where Mimighoul players will be, because why are you playing Mimighoul? If you're playing Kashtira or Fiendsmith in the deck, and you still have Mimighoul cards in the deck, why are you not replacing the Mimighoul cards with cards that matter, like actual hand traps? You could just put in, you could go to Master Duel Meta, sort by UR, or sort by popularity, put those cards in a deck with your Kashtira and Fiendsmith, like, doesn't matter what they are, and you would do better. Mimighoul insta-loses to Impulse. Also true, because then your opponent can't activate anything, or if your opponent impulses something, it locks them out of Earth effects. So then you give them an Earth monster that you want them to trigger, and they can't activate it. So, what are you doing here? And Maliss plays Impulse, and Crystron can play Impulse. Right now they're playing Millenniums instead, which are Earths. But if it ever became a problem, there's enough Water, Fire, and Dark decks that can just be like, here we go, goodbye. Yeah, Maliss runs Impulse, because you lose out on two things. Okay, some other niche hand traps, Droll, Maxi, Nibiru, but it is really just Apollo. And so if you're going second, you don't end on Apollo. You kill your opponent. And if you're going first, you can just set the Impulse. Like, problem solved. Or if you really want to keep it in hand to, like, protect it from destruction, you can activate Apollo however many times and then Impulse. Like, it doesn't conflict. And there's enough decks of adequate types that can just play Impulse if Mimighoul becomes a problem. Somehow, which it's not going to. Okay, Materia Reactor. Materia Reactor will be my bait here. I think the deck is good. I think it is, like, mid-diamond level for most players. Like, that's where it will carry them. But not higher than that, because you need either a huge brain or to get lucky. So Sundrig and I were working on it, and we put in the punk stuff as extra things to play through interaction, to be nib-proof, and to make level 3s, to make rank 3s, excuse me. And I think the deck has real legs, but I don't think it is a top-tier meta contender. Also, a lot of people don't know what the cards do. So they won't, it's not on their radar to even play. However, I'm going to put it up here in rating duels, and anyone who comments, why is Materia Reactor in rating duels, we know they didn't watch the video. But I think it's like a diamond deck. Are You Gay? Are You Gay is another, like, floodgate go first combo deck. I've seen it a fair amount. I think it is better than DDD, but I don't think it is... Okay, it can carry a lot of players to platinum, but it's one of those things that, like, the players who need the deck to carry them, it won't carry them. And the players who are good are not going to play Are You Gay. Like, very cool deck. Very cool. I wish it was good. Hope I'm wrong. I think it's down here. Argo Stars is another newer deck. Summons a whole bunch of trap things. Is another, like, must go first thing. They can not play into established boards. I have never seen Argo Stars play into established boards and be fine with that. They have a lot of, like, not hand traps, because they have a lot of just, like, filler in their deck, and a lot of trap cards. So they're... I just don't see it. I don't see it. It's another, like... Argo Stars, you need to... It's also harder to play. So, by that, I just mean, like, you literally need to understand the rules of the game, and most players that are Diamond or above would have no problem actually playing Argo Stars, but those players also are not playing Argo Stars unless they personally like the theme for something else. Maybe a belly button. I don't know. I'm not one to judge. Okay. The superior belly button deck would be Mermaids. I think Mermaids is great. I love the deck. Very fun to play. And for ladder play is amazing. The games are super quick, win or lose. So you're not in a game for very long, and you can decide, like, all right, I'm not going to play through this, and I'm out. So there have been so many games where my hand is just, like, I can really do one thing. I start to try to do my one thing. They stop it, and it's like, okay, I'm out. I don't need to see the rest of this game. Goodbye. And the inverse is also true, where if I'm playing, I start playing the game, they will just explode. Mermaids makes your opponents explode. Also with Lancia, completely unaffected by Lancia. I can't think of anything that banishes in the deck. There's a couple, like, spell traps that banish themselves from the graveyard, but not being able to access that is perfectly fine. Called by the Grave would be the only other card that, like, is collateral damage by Lancia, if that's a problem. And as far as playing into things, they hold a lot of their cards in their hand and then play them out as interruptions. So cards like Poseidra are incredibly good at breaking boards, because you can send a Dragoons or whatever. It's a bounce. You send something like Infantry from deck, and it's also a pop. And many people, I don't know why, take the bait of, like, wanting to destroy the Poseidra. The effect monster. And the Poseidra Xyz is just a triple bounce non-targeting, which is great for finishing games. I don't think it is the best deck. Like, Maxi existing, I've yet to mention Maxi. Crystron is another deck. So these are kind of weak to Maxi, both of them. People say Crystron is immune. This is not true. You are very weak to Maxi. It's that you have hand potentials that, like, passing on nothing, similar to Blue Eyes, passing on no summons, you can still put up interactions with Tristaros and Cluster. But that's it. Is one spell trap negate from Tristaros into Dragster, and one pop with Cluster. That's all you're doing if you're not doing anything. Okay, I have two Fiendschmidt variants. One with Primite, one with just Bestials. No Primite stuff. And again, both are very good. Neither need to banish, so not affected by Lancia destroying you. And both are represented in Master. I think the Bestial deck is worse without the Fiendschmitz, because the Fiendschmitz is one of those also you can the Primates, I mean. The Primates allow you, just the existence of Drill Beam, allow you to set it and pass without doing anything. And that is very good. I think that that is one of the best decks. And it will continue to be, and it saw no changes. I think the pure Bestial one is a lot worse because it doesn't have any proactive action. So holding the Bestials in your hand as your interaction, or other hand traps, Phantasme or something else, doesn't do anything. So you have to get something in the graveyard and then start summoning your Bestials to start punching. The Primites give you Ether, then they summon Dippity, and you can at least turn Dippity into Requiem and pass on that, turn Requiem into Lacrima on their turn. Like, worst case scenario of only Primite stuff is you're at least doing something. The Bestials don't do anything unless you, like, force them to, and it feels bad. Okay. Punk is another one of those decks that I think is quite good. It is very good. Weak to Max C. No surprise. And mostly for that reason, I'm going to put it down here. They can play a whole host of hand traps, but most Punk decks devolve into, like, big piles or get impermed on Xamen and are not playing enough cards to play through that. Punk can be very scary, but I think is worse than these decks up here. Hero. I don't want to put it. I think Hero's decent. Maybe another Diamond deck. I'm just going to drop Hero here. This is all of the variants. They can do a whole bunch of different things. It's that they're not super... They are very versatile, but they need to be playing the game in order to do that. And if you stop them from playing the game, they don't have a good time. And then their really only non-engine tool that they use is Droplet, because the rest of it doesn't synergize because you need so many cards to be moving around zones, and they basically all need to be hero cards. Okay. Blue Eyes, as I alluded to, is also very good. I think it is better than Fiendsmith Bestial, but I'm not, or Fiendsmith Primate, but I'm not sure. Because it's either the Blue Eyes engine or the Fiendsmiths to supplement your Primite, and both are, like, incredibly strong long game stuff. But I think that the Blue Eyes cards are harder to crack than the Fiendsmith. And Blue Eyes, I've seen many, many games, and done this myself, where my opponent max Cs or Fualoses, and it's like, all right, I'm going to summon 0 to 1 times, and I'm going to set up Majesty, Drill Beam, Veiler, and usually something else. Maybe I go for Seals for a few special summons. And then that's a whole host of interaction. Also, Imperm and Purge as additional cards that you can just set. I think Blue Eyes is a better interactive deck through Max C, and I think that the end board of, like, Double Spirit or Spirit plus Seals is stronger than solo Desiree. I think the Fiendsmith engine is, like, more versatile in follow-up, but Blue Eyes is very strong, and Tyrant Dragon carries a lot of games. If you've not seen Tyrant Dragon just end games, you need to go watch some Blue Eyes players play. Okay. Memes, I think, is kind of polarizing. Everyone loves to love memes. I think people are starting to... They fundamentally don't understand what Memento is doing, and what it's doing is no different than any other deck, and I think it is one of the best decks. It is very, very weak to little, and also does a whole lot, and you can build it either to try to smash them, or with the Fiendsmith stuff, which is just infinite recursion. And the amount of games it can just end the game on you. So going first, you can do something like Apollo, Combined Creation, a set card, Desiree, or Caesar or whatever, the full, like, full send, everything you want. Very, very hard to crack. It will be less played, but I don't think it is less good. I think its win rate will rise because people will be jumping off of Memento, and only the like good Memento players will stay on it. I think Memento is one of the best decks. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's under Great Pilot, it's top 3 to 5. And I think that, so if we are really saying how far will the deck carry average Joey, it's not at all. Memento is, like, people don't understand how to play it or play against it, so it goes down in bronze. Like, they're playing it because it's haha funny, and they throw away their cards and don't know how to play. But good players playing are scary on Memento. They're one of the few things that I am not super happy to play against. I try to stop the horse, and if sometimes they pass on that, most of the time they do not. They have so many other things to be doing. And combined creation king, attack directly for 8,000 through all of your interaction is not that difficult. Like, you just have to, like, waste their interactions, play through it, which you can, and then you can ignore their whole field and kill them directly. Or combined creation can also, like, machine gun over all of their things for lethal. Like, Memento, I think, is like as good as Snake Eyes at just, like, creating either unbreakable board or ending the game. Like, very, very good at both. And we'll get to Snake Eyes. We're going in roughly reverse release order. All right, Centurion. Incredibly hard to pick up for the average person, yes. Considering most average players are, like, platinum. Like, that's where they're at. Centurion, easy deck to play. It can die to hand traps. It's one of those, like, it's like Memento, but worse. Sam, aren't you in platinum? So Centurion is very easy to play, and I think would carry most players. And I think that the amount of interaction is getting your gold. The amount of interaction is getting more hostile to Centurion, and I think that, like, zeitgeist understanding of how Centurion plays is increasing, and people are not making the same mistakes because they haven't read the cards. Like, Centurion is a reading test of, do you know which cards are protecting which cards? Like, that's what it is. And sometimes Blazar carry. And they can do a few things through Max C and pass, and that's comfortable. Okay, Exodia. Exodia is a deck I recommend, and I think is somewhere mid-diamond, maybe low diamond, if you just pick it up and start playing it. You pick up Exodia, you start playing, you're willing to put the time in the games. If you go AFK, will you miss Ubel? No, Ubel is, I mean, depends on how long your bathroom break is. Ubel is way down here. We'll get to Ubel in a while. Exodia is very, very easy to play, and similar to Kashtira. I'll pull that up now, because I think Exodia and Kashtira are the same deck. And Stun. These three are the same deck. You put up your Floodgate, and if your Floodgate is good enough, you win. And that's the entire game. Like, there is stuff to learn. All three of these decks have interaction. Arise Heart, Exod Fires of Rage, the Solemn Traps and whatnot that you need to, I'm not going to say time, but not get baited on in order to win the game. And I put all of these in about the same spot. I think I don't know. It's very tough to say what is the best. I think it's Kashtira or Exodia. I think Kashtira is... I don't know. I hesitate to say Kashtira is better because you can do other things. You have other, like, rank 7s and other plays you can make. Exodia is very, very inflexible. But either way, I'd put them all around Diamond, and I find these are all just, like, crutch decks that people that don't know how to play the game play, and I encourage these. Like, if you are below Diamond, pick up Kashtira or Exodia, and you will start getting free wins. Like, you get free wins when you don't know what you're doing. Something like Mermail gets free wins, but a lot of players will stick out to see if you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you don't finish them. You don't take their whole hand. Exodia is a one-trick pony, but the trick of 8,000 indestructible spell trap negate with a field destruction and macrocosmos is a difficult trick to beat. And a lot of the tricks for it, like Droplet Ultimate Slayer, they don't work under macro defissure. The trick is very simple, but it's a good one. And there's room for growth as an Exodia player. I think so this is what people mean by they say, like, you should pick an easy deck to play or whatever. And your Exodia cards are relatively simple and very, very... Cash Summon's a Floodgate, but in Maliss format, it's eh. So, I think that okay, very, very quickly, we're going to have everyone playing Maliss immediately, at all ranks, because everyone wants to play the new thing. But after that, the lower rank players are going to stop playing Maliss because they don't understand how to play Maliss. I'm not saying it's, like, overly complicated and they can't learn, but Platinum and below players don't want to do any studying. They don't want to do any research, and anyone willing to do research on how to play their deck will be Diamond or above. Like, because that's where it puts you. Platinum, like, is the barrier, and if you can do any research and learning, it's easy to pass Platinum. Extremely easy. Platinum players, I played through Platinum last season with Crystron, and Platinum players, no offense everybody, are really, really terrible. There was one game, my opponent had lethal on the board. He was playing Fiendsmith Tenpai. He had... I was at, like, 6,000 life or something. He had a huge Desiree and, like, another small monster in 4 summons. I have Nib as the only card in my hand. And I'm like, he will summon a monster. Trust. Because chat was telling me, just scoop. And I'm like, no, this is Platinum. He's gonna summon a monster. He normal summons Fadra. No effect. Tries to go battle. I nib him. I still don't draw anything good, and he kills me the next turn. But that type of play should not be rewarded. And that is the type of play Platinum players are making. They're just not thinking about what cards your opponent could have. And I think that you can get past Platinum with these 3 decks without thinking much about your opponent. Okay. White Forest. I'm going to bring Snake Eyes too, because these are basically the same deck. So they have a lot of overlapping pieces. Sometimes White Forest plays Millennium, sometimes they don't. They're both Fiendsmith decks. They're both Deep All-Star decks. White Forest usually has the Azamina stuff. Snake Eyes has mostly dropped the Azamina stuff. But these are the same deck in both what they do and the actual cards they used to play. And Snake Eyes has received a slap on the wrist. It has lost Oak and 2 copies of Golem. Not a problem. So some of the lines don't work without Oak, but this is fine. The rest of the deck still functions. You still have Millennium stuff. You can put back in Azamina stuff if you want. Snake Eyes, I think, is still going to be very good. I think both of these decks... So White Forest kind of suffers more from the, like, hand variance and going first. So I think it's worse than Snake Eyes, and I think that that is not really up for debate. I think everyone basically agrees on that. But these are basically the same deck at basically the same power level. And now, I'm not sure where the Oak ban, if it drops Snake Eyes below White Forest on power level. It drops it below it on popularity because people love White Forest. I don't understand why. It's one of the decks that people say is based. I don't see it as very based. It's just another good, like, going first deck. I'm just going to leave these here. These two are interchangeable. They can go in either order. And I think I don't know. They can carry Duelists more. I think like that. Like this order of how much do they carry you? And like based on like carrying alone, these three are like dog shit dookie ass decks. Like these decks, you do need to understand how to play the game. And what your deck does. My favorite thing against White Force is drolling them and them scooping. This is true. This is true. White Forest can sometimes not play through Droll at all. And other times, it doesn't matter and they just do Fiendsmith stuff. But all of their strongest hands, they don't die to Droll. Especially the strongest hands. But the strongest hands are heavily, heavily impacted by Droll. Okay, Gimmick Puppet. Where do I put Gimmick Puppet? Gimmick Puppet, I think, is another one of these, like, Platinum Trap decks. Like, it's potentially very good. We have all of the pieces. Nothing is missing. What it's missing is having to play through the opponent's interactions. And if you don't have the right thing or get the right thing for their interaction, your end board is very, very weak. It's just a couple of Xyz with, like, a multi-steal. Diamond? You think Gimmick Puppets are a diamond deck? I think, I'd rather play Gimmick Puppets than Kashtira. That's true. So, like, these are the bottom of Platinum. I mean, bottom of Diamond. These decks are, like, the bottom of Diamond. Because, like, Hero requires a lot of interaction. Or, like, you need things to go right with Hero. These decks are very, very coin flippy. And I don't think that the decks... Gimmick Pups are a deck that you either bad pilot and don't get out of plat. Or get it. You're right. You're right. Gimmick Puppets, if you're playing Gimmick Puppets, you don't get out of Platinum, or it's your favorite deck and you're very good. Same with Hero. You're right. I think Gimmick Puppets go here. Okay, next up we have everyone's favorite, Tenpai. We have two variants of Tenpai. We have the one where Ray says, Pydra, bite off his balls, and I think this one is very good. I don't know where to put it. It is not... Would not expect a lot in rating duels, but on power level, it's definitely somewhere in Master. And I think I'd rather play it... I think I'd put this version of the deck here. This one is very good, but isn't going to carry you. So, Hand Trap Tenpai is another one of those, like, very, very high volatility hand and matchup dependent decks, similar to these decks. But I think goes at the top of Diamond, maybe the bottom of Master. But Tenpai and Floodgate decks are the decks that you will actually see a lot when trying to grind, because people want the free wins. So, like, in my grind to Masters, I always see a ton of Kashtira. Way more than I expect. Way more than it is good. Kashtira sees so much play. I don't understand. Tenpai is very good. Both versions. The Sky Striker one, I think, is much, much better. And am generally very, very happy to play Sky Striker Tenpai into almost everything except for Mermail Get My Hand Taken and specifically Promethean Princess. That's it. And Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. I don't want to see Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, but that's it. Like, everything else, I'm very happy to play Sky Striker. Maybe memes. Apollo is very hard to beat if they get to it, which they will, because you're doing nothing. Memes is another one of those, like, very layered interactions that I'm not happy to play against. And I would need to see how Sky Striker plays into Maliss, but I would expect not well because of all of the cards moving zones on both players' turns. Okay, Ritual Beast is the deck I'm a big fan of. I'm a fan of set up your floodgates, search your floodgates, tutorable floodgates. But I don't think the deck itself... So this is another one of those decks. It can go first or second. I think it is very similar to Mermail in all of the things it does, but it does them worse. And if we're talking about Lancia as a concern, it dies to Lancia. This is it plays Shifter. It plays alternate lines under Shifter, but you play Shifter. So I don't think Ritual Beast are going to do very well. I think this is one of those other, cap out somewhere mid-platinum. It's also the type of deck that, people don't actually bother to learn to play correctly. They don't bother to learn to think about their cards. I printed out proxies of all of the monsters so that I can move them around on my table when I've special summoned them. Because that was a part of the problem for me learning the deck. Is that, oh no, which ones have or haven't I special summoned? And I need to be able to see that immediately. And this is one of those things that, if you do the learning, you rocket past platinum, and you're at the top of diamond, and if you put in a little bit of time, in addition to your learning, you're master. But if you're not doing the learning, mid-platinum at best. If you are not studying, Ritual Beast is a terrible deck. Okay, Brain Dead. There's very little, if I can spell it right, very, very little to say about Brain Dead. Everything about Brain Dead makes my blood boil. I hate it. I despise everything about it. The names of the cards, the effects, the game plan, the tech cards, the deck list, the gameplay. It's annoying, it shouldn't work, but it always draws the nuts, and Brain Dead wins as some luck hard-coded in. Fallen of Albaz himself, the card, needs a ban. Albaz isn't even an archetype. Nobody would miss the deck. It's a piss-easy deck to play for low-skill gamers who brand fusion and make a big board with infinite grand game without thinking. One of the best decks in the game. Lightsworn FTK. That's who this is. I'm going to put it way down here because there's two types of players that will play this deck. 3. Gamers that don't understand what they're doing, gamers that time out, me, and gamers that hit top 10 rating duels with Lightsworn FTK. But if you don't know how to go through all of the thing and are incredibly practiced and fast, you have to be fast with this deck, or you time out. There's actually not enough time to resolve snow enough times unless you are lightning quick. And if you're not on PC, if you're on a console, don't even try. Lightsworn, really, really terrible, and you will lose way more games than you should because of UI limitations. Good deck. Very good deck. You also time out. Then Memento also goes down here. Okay, now that we actually have something in bronze, I can't just put it up here. Voiceless Voice. A Voiceless Voice, I think, is a top diamond deck. It tries to do what Blue Eyes does, but isn't as good at it. It's very, very similar. I think it is in essence the same as Blue Eyes, but it somehow seems more fragile time after time. I don't understand. Like, I don't know. Its consistency is this should be called Brick Eyes. The amount of times I've seen Voiceless Voice do effectively nothing is too much. But they also have the same nuts hands that, like, nobody could play through. Like, you could give Josh Schmidt or Abelmod 10 cards and they can't play through that board. I don't understand. All right, Ubel. I'm only talking Ubel with Fiendsmith and Unchained. If you're not going to play those, it is literally like garbage tier. Don't play it. Like Eternal Favorite, I want Super Poly into I don't even know what it's called. The Ultra Rare Fusion. Like bottom of bronze. Like you are literally a cosplayer. If you're putting the good cards in your deck, I don't know where it falls now. Probably the worst of the good decks. The problem with Ubel is it's like has to go first deck. And if you go first and you get Maxeed or Fuad and you don't have an interaction, your board is so weak. But you have so many hand traps and so many one-card starters. Like, the deck is very, very dichotomous. And this is another one of those decks that seems like it shouldn't work, but does work. And I think that most of the players are going to be jumping off of Ubel. So any Ubel players left are huge fans of Ubel and actually good at it. Hello, Sandy. Welcome to the dojo. So we'll put Ubel at the bottom of Master here. That's where I think it'll carry you to. Before you need to improve. Fire King. It's fun only going first. That's the problem. Where's Dinomorphia? Dinomorphia and all of the decks that I've forgotten go down here because I have forgotten them because they don't exist and won't carry you very far. This tier list is thinking, how far will this deck carry me before I have to put time into it? And thought. Like, if I'm just going to pick this deck up, do a modicum of reading and learning, Dinomorphia goes right here. With the other Floodgate decks. If your Floodgate works, you win. Dinomorphia's rating duels. Not sure about that. I would disagree. So that's the thing. All of these decks you can play into rating duels, and you can play all of these very well. All of these, every single deck is subject to, like, good. This is my starting point of the decks from Master Duel Meta and Untapped, and, like, where they fall, plus new cards. Because we have DDD and Glad Beast and Are You Gay on here. You just started the game yesterday. I would advise Exodia. Exodia is extremely easy to play and is Floodgates. Unfortunately, tomorrow there's a new best deck coming out that it cares about the Floodgates Exodia puts up, but it isn't hindered by them like other decks. Like, I've been playing Mermail and Macrocosmos D-Fisher. If my opponent has those and I don't have the out, I literally cannot play the game. I cannot out them. Like, my engine cannot out a Dimensional Fissure. I lose the game. Exodia is very, very easy to play and much, much cheaper than something like Kashtira. You could also get the branded structure deck. So, where White Forest? White Forest is here. I think White Forest is like a mid master deck is where it will carry you before you need to get good. Math Mech we haven't gotten to yet. Adams didn't appear in any data. So, like, the real answer for why Adamancipator and Dynamorphia aren't here is because they're not popular enough. The new pack coming out and its resonators. The new pack. I don't know what you're talking about. Not enough data for Vanquish Soul. Sorry. Maybe next time. You know what? Join the Discord. Go into the Discord right now. And then go into the Dojo's to-do list section. And type in your favorite deck. Go, Dojo, you forgot this deck. Put that in there. And it'll be in the next tier list. I'll make sure it gets in there. We were on Fire King. Fire King was a worse Snake Eyes because you're not playing Fiendsmith, so it's just worse than that. But we have Kieran back to 3. People are trying to not banish your stuff because they want things to not be banished. And that's about it. That's it. You dismantle your Fire King stuff. Fire King is incredibly fun to play. Master of fun. Rating duels of fun. Fire King is one of the most fun decks I've played. But I don't know. Fire King is one of those decks that, like, it won't carry you. You do need to know how your cards work and interact, or you're gonna get smushed. So because of that, I'm gonna put Fire King top of diamond. And by this metric, Tenpai carries you farther. I think Fire King is a better deck than Tenpai. But doesn't carry you. You have to do the work yourself. Chimera, I haven't seen in forever. I've not seen any Chimera cards. Yeah, Fire King got Power Corrupt. And if you can outplay the Floodgates, if you can play past those, you're fine. And then you start losing to these decks. Chimera, I don't know what happened to it. Drytron, not enough representation. Not enough representation. Oops. Bad habit to just scroll around. Plant Pile, not enough representation. Sprite, we'll get to. Friend played against uses the Sun God Raw deck. I want to build something that can beat him and will be good in ranked. Any recommendations? Yes, lots of decks. Anything here will beat Ra. Like, Ra goes down here bottom of bronze. Chimera, I've not seen in forever. I don't know what happened to them. They're a deck that is, like, decent. I think. Chimera Fiendsmith stuff. So you're at least Fiendsmith. So, like, Fiendsmith would carry you through Platinum. So this is another, like, Platinum deck. Let's put it at the bottom of Platinum. Because I just haven't seen it. I don't know where it went. I've not seen any... I'm going to put it in the gold, because I haven't seen any Chimera Duelists. They're gone. Because I played through Platinum last month on the alt account with Crystron, and I didn't see any of them. Labyrinth. Labyrinth is another impulse deck. It can play Floodgates going first, or going second. So you can Arias them. But this is, like, requires a Lucky. Where does it go? How far will Lab carry you? Lab will not... I think Lab is better than the Floodgate decks. But it's not something I'm excited to play against. Or to play. It's not something I'm excited to play. I like Lab a lot. Well, one new deck being a bad matchup, like, doesn't make your deck bad. Because not everyone will be on that deck. And there's still a lot of... Like, look at all these decks. And there's chat saying, like, what about this deck? What about this deck? What about this deck? I think the best duelists will smush you. But if you're at a high table and you are not, like, great with your deck specifically, you're going to get smushed. So you're just better off switching to the better deck and like trying to learn the better deck. Malice is the new deck coming out tomorrow. Yes. Okay. Red Dragon Archfiend Resonator stuff. I don't know. I think you're an anime cosplayer or you're brand new and somebody recommended the Resonator structure deck. Like, you have experience in other games if you get out of silver. Or you're floodgating them or something. I've seen so many people not even know how to play the deck. This is just like the Red Dragon Archfiend Resonator deck. Way down here. Infernoble is one of those decks that has the high win percent going first, but if not, you crumple. And this is one of those other like super pet decks. I'm going to put it right next to here, next to Lightsworn FTK. If you know this deck and you love it and you love playing it, continue to play it because you like the deck. If you don't already know the deck and have the cards, it's not, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Tearlaments, my beloved. I don't know where to put it. Tearlament gamers, we are hurting. We have so much garbage right now that we're just a like Fiendsmith deck. Like the lucky tier decks, like lucky tier, one of the best decks. But you're not lucky. Your opponent, if you're playing against Tearlament, they are one of the best decks in the game. If you are playing Tearlament, you are going to have a bad time and is not better. Tearlament just feels so bad to play. How much player on play, Floanderies, and Evil Twin? Maybe a both is gold? What? We don't appreciate false narratives. No false narratives here. So yeah, playing Tearlaments, I don't know. If you're playing, the problem is Tearlaments was very, very strong and has a lot of fans, so it was like the bottom level it can do is like a Fiendsmith. Like, you're one of the Fiendsmith decks. Probably worse than Yubel. I'd rather take the time to actually learn Yubel than go back to Tearlaments right now. Okay, Math Mech. If we are doing the Math Mech thing, why are we not doing the Malice thing? Like, Math Mech is strictly worse Malice, and I don't see a reason to play Math Mech over Malice. Safe to say Math Mech has gotten stronger with Malice? What do you mean? How? Because if you're playing both cards in the same deck, you're making your Malice deck worse by adding cards to it. So then you should just not play any of the Math Mech cards. Math Mech is one of those things is like the same one-trick pony as Exodia. Like, I see it as not a different deck than Exodia. If you go first and you do your thing, you win. If your opponent can play through it, you lose. Math Mech can go second, though. So, like, it is not as one-trick as Exodia. But I'd rather play Math Mech than Kashtira. Would I rather play Math Mech or Lab? I think Lab. Okay, 3 final decks. Sprite. Same exact thing as Tearlaments. When I play it, my opponent has every interaction, and I can't make a board. And when I do make a board, they crack it like it's no problem. When my opponent plays Sprite, it feels like a power corrupt deck of is power corrupt. Let's put it mid-diamond somewhere. Let's put it right there. This is where it feels like. Melodious Snake Eyes maybe works more. Nate, your sentences have to make sense. Wee Woo is another, like... I'll put it here at the top of Platinum. That's it. We don't need to discuss more. Wee Woo has been power corrupt. Not as strong. I wish it was. Wish it did more. It doesn't. And Salad, I don't know why you're playing Salad these days. What are you doing with the deck? Okay. Here you are. Here is your definitive Master Duel tier list for July. And these are where the decks will carry you. Take a good look. And if your deck isn't here, there was either no data or it's a trash deck. And if there's no data, that means people are not willing to give it the time of day. It could mean the deck is very good and underrated and nobody knows what they're doing. And you are just a god gamer on the secret sauce. But you have to Occam's Razor it. Your deck is probably not very good.